Hi, I'm David Maldo, and in this video, I'm going to bring up the view from 4 different webcams so that you can compare them side by side. This is one of a series of videos comparing over a dozen webcams. We're doing them in a round robin so you can see each of them in a head-to-head. Before we get started, a quick disclaimer. Logitech has sponsored this series of videos. However, they asked me to keep it neutral. I'm not going to share any of my own opinions. I'm just going to show it to you and let you see for yourselves. As part of keeping things fair, I'm leaving all the cameras on their default settings. Usually I like to tweak the brightness, the contrast, to try to optimize things, but I don't want to subconsciously bias anything in favor of one camera over another, so I'm just going to leave everything on their defaults. Okay, so let's bring up our 4 cameras. In this video, we're comparing the Logitech Brio, the Logitech C925e, the Adesso H3, and the Adesso H4. The first thing we look at is what we in the industry call the aspect ratio, basically the shape of the window that we're in. All 4 of these cameras are a 16:9 aspect ratio. That means for every 16 pixels across, or every 16 inches or centimeters across, there's 9 going up and down. The result is this rectangular shape, which is pretty common in video conferencing applications, so it works pretty well. This is a good time to talk about field of view, or how much of the room is being captured. If I had a coworker sitting next to me, would the camera capture them? Or if I like to talk with my hands, how much can I really talk with my hands? Another related item is mirroring. You'll notice that the Adesso H4 is mirroring my view. You could tell because the text is backwards. Now, while this could be useful for some applications, generally in video conferencing, you want people to see you normally. You want them to be able to read the text of anything you have on the screen. The next thing we want to look at is what I call distortion. Basically, are our straight lines actually straight? Now, these cameras are doing a tough job. They're trying to focus in on me, but they're also trying to capture the room. So there'll sometimes be a little bit of a fisheye effect. You might see a little curvature, especially around the outer edges of the image. But obviously, for the most part, you want your straight lines to be straight. So I've tried to include a lot of straight lines behind me. We have the guitar necks, we have the cabinet, we have the rod to hold up the green screen, and just see if they look straight to you. The next thing we want to look at is color. And again, as I said in the beginning, normally I would tweak the settings to try to get the colors and brightness and everything optimized, but here we're just going with defaults. So to help you judge color, I try to include every color I could find in the house behind me. We have some red, we have some orange, we have some purple, we have some blue, so you can get a good sense of color. But with color, there's 2 things you want to look out for. One is, does it look good? Does the blue look like a nice blue? But the other is, does it look right? Unless you've been in my office, you don't know exactly what shade of blue that is. What is it supposed to look like? So that's why I included the Coca-Cola box. Most of us know Coca-Cola red. So when you look at it, don't just see if it looks red, see if it looks Coca-Cola red. The next thing you should look at when comparing the cameras is exposure. Basically, how well does it handle light? Like many of us, I don't have optimal lighting in my home office. I have decent lighting, it's not terrible, but let's face it, lighting is tricky and very few people have perfect optimal lighting. So I have some areas where it's just too bright and some areas where I have shadows. So take a look and see for yourself how well each camera is dealing with my suboptimal lighting. The next thing we should look at is sharpness, or how clear our images are. The clarity or detail of the image is generally dependent upon the resolution of the camera. All 4 of these cameras are running what I would consider to be HD resolutions. The Adesso H3 is running at what we call 720p, which means 1280 pixels across by 720 pixels up and down, while the other 3 cameras are running at a higher resolution, which we call 1080p. Which is 1920 pixels across and 1080 pixels up and down. The more pixels you have on the screen, the more detail you get. Now, I should note that the Logitech Brio is actually capable of running at 4K, which is a higher resolution. While very few video call services even support 4K, it's still nice to have because when you zoom in, there's so many pixels on the screen, you could still be at HD. You could still be at 1080p or something. The last thing we're going to compare is the audio. All 4 of these cameras have a microphone, and up till now I've been using this Logitech Zone headset to keep it neutral, but we're going to switch to each of the microphones in turn. In order to make it a real-world test, we're going to add a couple things. The first I already have going, background white noise. I have a very loud air filter, and the fans from my computer are just humming away. The second is some crowd noise. Think of it as rude coworkers or working in a public space. So you just have some people talking there. I'm just playing it through the computer now. Now I'm going to play it on my iPhone here to see if the webcams pick it up. The headset's probably not picking it up. It's not supposed to, but let's see how well the webcams do. So now you're hearing me on the Logitech Brio. How do I sound? Can you make out what I'm saying? Can you hear me over my background noise, my fans? Let's turn on our crowd noise. So now I have my rude coworkers. Can you make out what I'm saying over what they're saying? And as long as we're here, let's take a closer look at everything else we've talked about. What do you think about our field of view? Can I talk with my hands? How do our straight lines look? Is everything look straight, our guitar necks? What do you think about our color? Is our Coca-Cola red actually Coca-Cola red? How's our exposure? How are we dealing with my less than ideal lighting? And what do you think about the resolution, the detail? Look at the details of the things on the wall. How well can you see everything? And with that, let's go on to our next camera. You're now hearing me through the microphone on the Logitech C925e. How well do I sound? Can you make out what I'm saying? How well is it suppressing my background noise, my loud fans in the background? Let's see what happens when I turn on my rude coworkers. Can you still make out what I'm saying over what they're saying? And as long as we're here, let's go over everything that we reviewed so far. How do you like my field of view? Talking with my hands. Are our lines straight? Guitar necks, bars on the walls. How do our colors look? Our Coca-Cola red. How's our exposure? Dealing with my less than optimal lighting. And finally, our sharpness. What do you think about the clarity and detail of the things on the walls behind me? And with that, let's move on to our next camera. You're now hearing me through the microphone of the Adesso H3. Again, how well can you make out what I'm saying? And is my voice clear? How well is it dealing with my background noise, my fans? Let's turn on my rude coworkers. If I'm in a loud office here, can you make out what I'm saying over what's going on in the background? And as long as we're here, let's go over everything else on our list. Starting with our field of view, if I'm talking with my hands or if I have coworkers on screen with me. Our straight lines, our cabinet, guitar necks in the background. Our color, our Coca-Cola red. Exposure, lighting, shadows, and finally our resolution, clarity. And with that, let's check out our last camera. So you're now hearing me through the Adesso H4. Again, how do I sound? Is my voice clear? Can you make out what I'm saying? Can you hear me over my background noise, my fans? Let's turn on our rude coworkers. If we were having a meeting and a conversation, would you be able to understand me over the noise that they're making? So while we're here, what do we think about our field of view, talking with our hands, our straight lines, our guitar necks, our cabinet, our color, exposure, dealing with lighting, and the sharpness, detail of the items on the wall behind me. Now, audio is obviously very subjective, but you know what sounds good to you. And remember, the key is just being able to understand what I'm saying. Imagine you're in a meeting with me for an hour. You don't want to be straining to make out what I'm saying. It should sound as much as possible like we're sitting in the same room. So that wraps up this video. I hope you check out the rest of the videos in this series so you can get all the head-to-head comparisons. And I hope you found this helpful. Thanks for watching.